Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Gibbs Spotlight. My name is Haley Sandell, and I am a visual communications intern here at the Gibbs College of Architecture. Today, we'll be talking with Kimi Diedrich. She's a graduate student in the Regional and City Planning program. Hey, Kimi.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. How's it going?
Great, surviving COVID-19 and going to as many protests as I can.
Good for you. Doing what you can is the most important thing right now.
Exactly.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey leading up to Gibbs?
Sure. So I'm from El Paso, Texas, and went to school at Texas State University. That's where I got my undergrad and my master's. And my undergrad was in anthropology, while my master's was in history. And I wanted to work in museums. That was my dream. I love the idea of it.
That's awesome.
Thanks. But when I started taking those classes, I realized the the dichotomy between the actual history and what's presented in museums. So it took a kind of a soul searching, but I read an article that was called Mecca Blues Flats, and I wish I knew the art author.
Oh,
But when I read it, it's basically about a narrative that's associated with a place, and it's how the blues was associated with this mecca flat in Chicago. And I was like, why don't we hear about this? And that was basically my start of love with historic preservation and architecture. And that's what got me to get my degree in public history. And then I got a job with ODOT as an architectural historian. And that's a sponsored program through OU.
gotcha.
And yeah, and I decided, okay, this is what I want to do. Then I realized I was just kidding.
Oh, no.
And my boss kept on telling me, "Oh, well, it seems like you're interested into regional and city planning." So I figured, why not get another degree? It's just more school, and that's something I know how to do, as weird as that sounds.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, that's kind of how I got here, and I love the program so far. Like, it's exactly what I want to do with my future, and it's so exciting to be around a group of people who are like-minded and understand that they want to help communities without gentrifying them, which is amazing.
That's really cool. I love that story. That's such a like, a wild roller coaster origin story. Well,
Thank
good for you, dude. It sounds like you are where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Um, Honestly, that's kind of at first I was totally distraught because my original masters, I was like, "What am I doing? I can't
No.
believe I'm not using it."
Yeah.
But I realized, well, you could always apply it to this new job, and that's kind of what I hope to do.
Well, and it sounds like, especially with regional and city planning, it's so broad. Like, you
Mhm.
can incorporate so many different things into it.
Yeah, it's amazing how much, and with what I want to do, how culture and heritage is part of city planning. But that's something that I feel like most people don't recognize or don't think about right when they go and they're introduced to a new city, and the feeling of the area and the character. It all defines those who live within that city as well as the political structure. So to me, that's amazing.
Definitely. Well, and it's one of those things that you don't wanna make it a one size fits all. You want different cities to have their own personality and let the
Hmm.
people kinda guide how it's gonna look, and then you get variation, and then the world is happy.
Exactly. Yeah. Like listen to the people, see what can help them, and then build it for them.
Yeah. It's kind of
Yeah.
funny what happens when you listen to the people.
I know, right? I feel like our current political justice system could kind of take this key.
Mhm. I would agree. So, uh, kind of on a different note,
Mhm.
how did you decide that you wanted to come to OU?
So, like I said earlier, my job is essentially it's a sponsored program through OU for the Oklahoma Department of Transportation,
Gotcha.
and I was already working on campus. So, me I started looking into programs at OU and realized I'm considered quote unquote staff and faculty. So I
Gotcha.
kind of got like a half my waiver, or I got a waiver on tuition. So half of it was cut. And I was like, well, I can afford half.
There you go. And honestly, pretty convenient.
Yeah. It's kind of weird how, even though like I don't really like believe in like, oh, there's always a path, but how things fall into place when you least expect it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, I'm very grateful for it because new life, here I come. Boom.
Yeah, and it sounds like something that you're super passionate about too.
Yes, for sure.
So, what current projects are you working on?
So, right now, I'm actually kind of working on a little bit of everything. But do you want to specifically know for my job or for school?
Either, both, whatever
Fa-
you want.
Fair. So, for work, I've actually been working on building a narrative based on the built environment of African American businesses along Route 66.
That's
And
awesome.
thank you. And I'm kind of working and collecting the history and, of course, what I'm finding. And hopefully, if somebody listens to this, they could also help me. I've been looking for resources. I've been looking for over a year. And obviously, there's the green books, which I'm super thankful for. That's helped me be able to go into each city and recognize, all right, these is exactly where these businesses were. But besides that, there's little written information, and that's ugh, but I like need to do this. Technically,
Yeah.
it's due by October, so I will do
Oh,
it.
man.
Yeah.
Wow.
But mhm,
That's a really cool project to be working on.
thanks. It's something that I don't know, I'm really proud that I'm able to work on this, and I hope I'm able to make a difference with this project.
Yeah. Well, and it's such an important thing to shine a spotlight on, especially in places like Oklahoma.
Mhm.
That's really awesome. What's, the project that you are most proud of?
Ooh. Oh, okay. I did an oral history in Dr. Lee's class. It was for diverse communities, or planning for diverse communities, excuse me. And doing that was amazing. I've already done oral histories with my previous masters, but this was different because I did it with my mom.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
And
fantastic.
it's so funny that you think you know your parents. But then I started asking questions that I never thought to actually ask her. Like, what was her childhood like? How was school? I finally learned why she hates nuns, which
Oh.
Godspeed, I would too. Um, um, and I also learned that I am definitely a lot more like my mom than I ever thought. Especially
Oh.
with her, like, yeah, her feisty attitude. I was like, oh my God, that's where I get it from.
That's really cool.
Thanks.
She sounds like a cool woman.
She's amazing. She's an attorney actually.
Wow, good for her.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I think it's really cool that you were able to bring in your family for this project, and that's definitely a project to be proud of.
Exactly. I think to be able to plan for other communities, we have to know how to observe our own history and being able to construct narratives about what my mom was saying. I didn't, my job is not to alter the narrative given, obviously,
Yeah.
but listening to it and hearing the cadences in her tone, you catch that and you recognize, okay, this is how other people are going to talk about things that when they're excited, when they're upset, which that might sound really obvious, but everybody has different cadences and tones. And sometimes people are not interested because you're a stranger. So learning kind of how to ask questions was good too.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's really awesome. Good for you,
Thanks.
dude. Um, so what, off of your favorite project, what is your favorite thing just in general about GCA?
Ooh.
It's a difficult
Ooh.
question.
Yes. Um, Honestly, the diversity.
Really?
I yeah. So at Texas State, there was mild diversity and within the teachers, and it could also be just the programs I were in with anthropology and history. I was more exposed to um, Mexican Americans, African Americans, and then white professors.
Yeah.
But being here, I feel like there's a lot more diversity within the general student population and the professors, and having those different perspectives really helps ground you in what to look for, I guess, in people and what's important to individuals because everybody is different.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like going back to about my mom and that project. It's very funny how now I see how her development and her growth as a child is demonstrated and has shown her as a grown woman. Like how that transition went. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
No, yeah, yeah, I follow.
And just imagining that, okay, and understanding that everybody has different backgrounds, I think is so interesting. And the fact that I feel like this program, the students so diverse, which I love. And it's open communication. You bounce ideas off each other. You hear about what it's like back in their hometown, back in their country. And being an American, and I admit I've gone abroad, but it was to Europe, nothing really different.
Yeah,
And then actually having my eyes opened up, that's beautiful and amazing. And seeing how it is different, how people interactions are different, and gets you just a better understanding of community as a whole.
absolutely. And diversity makes all the difference.
Mhm.
Having those different viewpoints, especially different viewpoints from your own and from like the small group that's around you, that's really, really valuable, especially to have in college at such a formative time.
Oh my god, yes. I wish more undergrads had to take classes like these
Yeah,
because, sometimes some of the stuff that I hear that's going around with undergrads, I'm like, "Oh, no."
yeah, yeah. It's a little cringy.
Yes.
I freshman year, I took the RA course actually to be a resident advisor,
Okay.
and I feel like all the undergrads should have to take that class
Mhm.
because it's a class about inclusivity and diversity and how to be a welcoming individual. Funny enough that we have to have a class about that, but
That
yeah,
sounds awesome, honestly. I I feel like sometimes freshmen, or at least at Texas State, there is like that general welcome to college course, like College 101 or whatever.
yeah,
And it doesn't teach you anything.
no,
Like it's one of those blow off classes where it quote unquote makes you feel better because it's with your advisor, all that. But in reality, you don't learn about interacting with different people, which is should be taught.
Yeah, that's why you go to college, right?
That's what I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, it's there's so much that can be done.
Yes.
Well, it sounds like at least regional and city planning is doing its part.
I completely agree. And so it's educating us the way that we need to be educated to also just be general better people.
Yeah, definitely, and that is extremely important.
Hmm.
So, when and why did you first become interested in regional city planning?
So I so my job used to have this thing where if you found a conference that you wanted to go to it. We will pay for it. And I was like, challenge accepted. I will take advantage of that because going to conferences are expensive, which is
Yeah.
wild to me because even the student like cost is are you wild? Like $500. I can't even support. What do you think I have this money?
That's rent for a month.
Exactly. Exactly. Like if I have 500 extra dollars, I will be so happy and I would get the good wine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I started looking for all of these conferences, and the main ones I could go to were transportation related. So my main focus when I initially got hired was supposed to be EJ, so environmental justice. And that's working with minorities or lower socioeconomic groups and creating equity amongst the community.
Good. I like
And
that.
thanks. And I wanted to do that so bad. And then, of course, it was one of those snaggled tooth, like, yes, we got her. Okay, now to be actual architectural historian, which I was hired for, happy to do it. But my plan diverged and I wasn't able to do as much EJ work as I wanted. S-
Gotcha.
So I was like, well, I was hired on the premise that would be doing that. So I looked up conferences for that, and all of them were based on city planning and these little keynote speakers. I was like, yeah, but they're big in environmental justice and like how to deal with varying communities, which Oklahoma, that would be good to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And my boss said, well, they weren't exactly related to transportation, so work wouldn't cover it. So I figured if I couldn't go to conferences, I might as well go back to school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly.
So
Especially if conferences are so expensive, you can put all that money into getting a degree.
exactly. Literally, yes. Like, and the degrees can be a lot more useful than just going to a conference and just being like, I learned some stuff, but doesn't really mean as much on a resume.
Yeah, you go to a conference and you learn a lot, but then, what do now?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm glad that, like, it led you here. You are where you're meant to be.
Yeah. It's really funny how that works because I don't know. Are you from Oklahoma?
I am, I'm from Oklahoma City.
Okay. So I never thought that I would be in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I never I knew it was a real state, but I mean, like it's just like it's Oklahoma, like okay. And
basically.
yeah, no offense, no offense.
About as average as he can get.
But moving here, like it was the first time I moved here, like, and I was by myself. So it was kind of a big adult step, and it just I feel like I've grown so much being here, and Oklahoma City is growing and seeing the planning. I really like how they're utilizing green space. And then Tulsa as well. I feel like it's an upcoming Austin where it's like the 80s style, but with modern architecture.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. And it's just seeing a city develop. I think is very important, but I'm nervous because the inclusivity is not exactly in mind a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely cool to see these new spaces like downtown OKC and Tulsa being built up, but
Mhm.
they're ignoring a lot of other places that need to be built up.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's kinda like, sucks that our, um our government is built around funding
Yeah.
and getting money, and I get that's the end result, but how far can you go where money's the end result and people's lives are just neglected?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, everybody needs to have the same opportunity, like, I think and I don't know if this is totally off base, but, like, I admit, like, I am privileged, not in, like, a super hoity-toity way, but I am thankful that I am able to get this education, and I wanna help others so that they're able to have the same access to what I had, and yeah, my parents worked hard, but and I don't doubt that their parents don't work hard. I bet they're working harder, in fact,
Yeah.
but they just don't have those opportunities, and I wanna make it my job where I could say, "Okay, I'm giving these opportunities to you because you deserve it. You're the people who are the backbone of our country, and
Yeah.
you need to have be able to have a voice." Oy,
Exactly.
oy.
Well, and especially with everything going on right now with the Black Lives Matter movement, and even with it being Pride Month,
Mhm.
like it's a time for everybody to take what privilege they have and to
Yeah.
turn around and help lift others up and make space for more people to share their stories.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping that this is what this movement really does, is that it makes everybody aware.
Yeah, I like kind of off topic, but so many people are saying that 2020 is such a cursed year and everything bad is happening now, but perhaps it's what we needed. It's the year that's screaming to make change and people are actually waking up and doing things instead of sitting back and saying, "Yeah, it'll pass." But instead 2020 slapped us with a pandemic and protests and it's wild. What a time.
I know, and I completely agree with you. Like, I'm not gonna lie, maybe this is just me being a history nerd, but I have been saying for years that a pandemic was going to happen. Like, just seeing how much our population has increased and the rate of transportation and how we have developed as a community, something was bound to happen. And I think this is kind of nature's way of saying, all right, we're taking back the planet now, which has caused everybody else to realize, oh, we need to take care of our people. Like,
Yeah,
everybody's counts, everybody's voices count.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And, um, in the last podcast, we were discussing how COVID has actually, like, brought about all of this awareness now of these class divides, of how so many people aren't able to get testing for COVID because of financial need, and you're really starting to see that split, and that comes back into regional city planning.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also like proximity to healthcare areas or like hospitals and such like that. They don't have the same type of tools which they need. And I hate that there was, I know earlier, a lot of talk of, oh, a lot of African American communities are being hit the hardest. And I heard or I read one terrible post, which of
Oh no.
course, yeah, exactly. You already know where this is going.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like, oh, well, they're not social distancing, they're not doing what is right. And then started blaming that they just keep on socializing and ignoring that they're quote unquote asking for it, which
No.
it was it I I think that's a day that I like literally cried. Um But yeah, and I remember saying that it's like that's not the case at all. They just don't have access to the same type of medical care that we do, that their hospitals are miles away. They don't have as clean as water. They don't have access to the same types of food. So then it goes back to everything, which deals with city planning and demonstrates the systematic racism that is within this country.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why it's so important to have equity and
Yes.
have justice for city divides instead of gerrymandering. Just
Mhm.
build up these societies and these parts of the cities that need to be focused on.
Yes, I completely agree. I think it's just time that, and hopefully our generation can do it, where we have new types of city planners who recognize it's about those who don't have a voice. It's our job to build a community for everyone, not just
Yeah,
those who are entitled and ugh.
exactly. And that's why you
Yes.
do what you do.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It it's true. It's all true, and it's something that needs to be brought to the front of everybody's vision right now.
Yes. And as weird as it says, I think 2020 is doing that, like what you said. And
Yeah.
I agree. I think 2020, yeah, everybody 2019 was like 2020 is going to be my year. Everybody jokes that it's not. Maybe it's not our individual year, but it's our community's year.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Retweet.
Yes. Yes. Oh my god. Sorry. I'm just like I said that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, uh, well, completely off topic from this, but I guess back to, uh, city planning.
Yes. Sorry.
Oh, no, this is perfect. I love these kinds of conversations.
Oh, me too.
Um, what is something that you would tell prospective students, about the regional city planning program?
Ooh. Um, get ready for a lot of different perspectives because I admit even within like the RCPL program, there are those which are construction oriented versus community. And I'm obviously community based. And sometimes the construction based individuals, they have different perspectives, which makes sense. They're all about how much money does it actually cost to build this area.
Yeah.
And I admit I kind of have a little feisty attitude if you haven't noticed.
And that's not
Um,
a bad thing.
exactly. But I definitely have gotten to good discussions. And I think new students need to realize discussions are good. Like, don't have an argument. Don't start yelling and just saying, well, your idea is stupid. No, listen to what the other side has to say. Because even though, as a community planner, yeah, I don't want to care about the money, but the reality is, those who are actually doing the construction, they're going to be the ones on the ground helping us build these communities and learning the maneuvers that come with dealing with somebody who is different brained than you. Like I'm probably more artsy brained. I don't know what side that is. Um, but having somebody that's more oriented with the maths, like it's amazing how much you could learn just from a different perspective. And also, it's okay if you're going into the grad program, you got this. Teachers here, amazing. Your classmates, amazing. Reach out to people and develop your community. And just to start being like, hey guys, anybody wants to do a study group?
Aw.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, it sounds like the regional city planning program is just like a little family.
Honestly, I feel like it is. Like even our the director of the program, Charlie, he's fantastic. He listens to you, which I know, and I've been lucky with the past programs I've been in that the head of directors have always been listening. But with Charlie, he cares, like to a
Yeah.
different degree, which maybe that sounds wild, but having a professor listen to your needs, to your wants, to your concerns, and recognize you as an individual and recognize your potential as an individual and your potential as a student are completely different realms. And he's great. And the staff just be honest. Don't make up lies and say your grandparent died, which, uh, yeah, like only so many can die. Don't do it. But sorry, that sounds terrible.
No, I I totally understand that.
Yeah, but just have open communication. Don't be scared of those who are higher ups.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
here to help you,
exactly.
and you're all there to help each other.
Yes, we definitely, I feel like all of us want to see every one of us graduate. I hope so. If not, then whoa, that's rude.
Yeah, yeah, that's a little cold.
Yeah, but I
Oh,
think we're all doing the right thing and seeing everybody's passions is really good.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I were a prospective student, I would feel so much better now. So, um, I think as far as questions go, that's all I have for you. Um, is there anything else that you'd like to touch on?
Don't be scared of taking risks. That's the only
Yeah.
way you're gonna know if you actually like something or not, AKA me.
Fair.
Yeah,
Well, and college is the time to do so.
exactly. And so go and explore and talk to different professors and see which one you get along with. And that can open up doors to what kind of planning you want to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, and getting to know people and building friendships and
Yes,
taking a risk. It's important.
exactly. I think a lot of people are scared nowadays. They want things handed to them.
You
And
gotta you gotta claw your way through at least a little bit.
yes.
It's healthy.
Yeah, that's how you build your grit.
Exactly. Well, I think that is all. Thank you so much for talking with us today, Kimmy.
Yeah, thank you. I had a great time.
Thanks again for listening to the Gibbs Spotlight. Tune in next time to hear more stories from the Gibbs College of Architecture.